Hello, everybody. My name is Ian Kirkpatrick. I'm an author, idiot, and loin streamer, and today I'm going to be doing a sort of an art update video, though we are a couple months back now since it is now November, and I still have to do the art video for August, for September. Now we have October, if I want to share, everything that I've been drawing. I have gotten a little slow because I've been distracted. I've been a little unmotivated because it feels like a bunch of trash. So there has been a bit of a struggle. I've also been playing some games a little bit, and I've been also trying to actually write. And so, like, I read less when I'm writing actively, like a draft, and then when I'm editing and stuff, then it gets better. But I go through these periods of, like, more and less, and maybe that's why I've been writing slower this time around with Body More Zero. But we're going to go over all of the art that I drew in August, or at least what I'm going to share, and maybe a little bit of story time, a little bit of updates on what I'm working on, or who the characters are, if that, and just kind of talk. But before we get started, number one, if you enjoy what I do here on the channel, please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Number two, if you would like to be featured on the channel, check out the links down in the description below. The number one way to be featured is through LMY, the monthly prompt writing contest, where I give you a prompt, you write a short story or something like that with the prompt, and the first Monday video of the month, we bask in the creativity that is your guys. Also, the cringe stream is coming up, so write the cringiest fiction that you can, submit it to the cringe stream link, which is on my community tab, and join us on the last Friday loin stream of the year to bask in the cringe of your fellow loin streamers, and then vote on the cringiest loin stream read come the loinies for 2024. And then the second way to be featured is if you are an indie author and you have a book out or a book that is coming out, if you submit it to the feature down in the description below. The first chapter will be read here on the channel with the cover showing, so hopefully it'll help more readers find your work, because you worked hard on that book and it deserves to be found by the audience that is out there looking for it. And the third thing is, if you would like to check out any of my books, they're available at any of your favorite places to get books, including the library upon request, so check them out. OneDrive also, because that OneDrive means you don't have to do anything but use the internet. And Body More 3 just came out, so finish your Body More experience. With that said, let's jump into the art. So, at the beginning of August, I realized that I hadn't ever drawn really any of the Dead End Drive characters, and that's because I've got the brain rot of the Easties and the Westies, so that's mostly what you're going to get. But in August, I did try to diversify at least some of the characters that I was drawing for a little bit, and that included drawing Anna from Dead End Drive, since she's pretty much the central female character, the most important female character, and she is my favorite female character of that book. She is, I realized that I have a like for the strong, quiet female character who is very deliberate in her actions and very deliberate in the words that she says when she speaks, because Billy is very similar that kind of person. In part, Billy from the Legend of Bill Cassidy, she is quiet because her vocal cords took damage during a previous encounter with somebody, which you'll learn about in the book, or, if you hang around enough, I will talk about it in places. But Billy also suffered from a traumatic experience that left her choosing to be mute for a little while until she started speaking a little bit more again, and then the incident happened and it damaged her, and then she just stopped speaking. So a lot of her actions were speaking for her. She's very expressive visually. She's very expressive through her emotions and her actions, and she likes to be deliberate in the things that she does physically. This was also me realizing that I had drawn Ralph and Casey as chibis in the previous month, and I hadn't drawn Joey, and Joey is the main character of Body More, so, like, why would I not draw Joey? Now, I don't think that I have the abilities to draw Jag, because I barely have the abilities to draw Joey. Her hair is not quite like this. The best image of Joey that I think has been made so far has been by Monty, and Monty did an incredible job with her hair. But I was also trying to draw her in something less, that wasn't just the hoodie. And with Casey and Ralph, I did, like, reversible chibis so that it could be a keychain, which I have some of those. I have no idea what I'm going to do with them, but I do have them. Some of them are on my keychain. And so I had to do one of Joey. Now, someday there might be one for Jag, and there might be one for Wayland, but I don't know when. I could probably draw Wayland better than I could draw Jag. Let's be real about that. one of the ways that I start getting better at drawing anatomy and drawing characters, just getting character practice in through less arduous work, is by doing chibis, because it lets me practice proportion, it lets me practice pose and perspective and emotions and all of that sort of stuff. So whenever I'm struggling to draw characters the way that I want to draw them, I try to revert back to chibi because it feels like less pressure, and then you know that you're not doing very well when even the chibis suck to you. So this one came about because I was talking to Monty about the characters in the Easties and Katsuo's Cabaret Club having a pet shop night, and obviously all of the girls in Pet Shop Night would be dressed as Inu or Neko, and so Nichi was obviously an Inu, and Kaede was more than a little bit excited when he saw the images, and also a little disappointed that he missed Pet Shop Night. So Katsuo was like, "Don't worry, brother, I got you." Of course, Katsuo was the pet shop owner, as he is the Cabaret Club host, but let's just say Kaede was very excited to see his girlfriend dressed as a Poochie in real life. This was also an image that I kind of just let sit on my gallery for a while unfinished because I was not happy with where it was, and eventually I kind of just gave up on the production of it because I'm like, I don't want to look at this anymore, and I don't want it to be undone. Every time I finish a month, I try to get most of the stuff that's sitting in my library or my gallery completed and then dropped into the completed bin so that I can move to the next month with, you know, fresh stuff to work on. But sometimes that doesn't really work because I do so much sketching ahead of time. If I get an idea, I kind of sketch it out so that I can return to it when I'm ready to work on it and I don't forget it. And so then that ends up with me having ideas that might sit in my gallery for either months or even almost a year. You'll see that in the November, either October or November stuff, because I had an image that I started drawing in December of last year, and I only sketched it out, and then it just sat in there for a while. And on and off for the last, 10 months. I started drawing on it, and I put it back, and I started drawing on it, and I put it back, and then I did most of the shading on it last month, or at least, on Katsuo, and then I put it back, and I had to finish the shading on it. You'll know. But speaking of Katsuo, we're coming up on the year anniversary of when his name was first mentioned on the Discord, so that's when he was born, which is November 19th. I don't know if that's actually his birthday. That might be an appropriate birthday. I am not sure yet, though. This was just me wanting to practice and just draw things. It started out with the drawing Sleepy Michi, and then I was like, let's do a couple others. And this is my girl, Billy. I love her a lot. She has been an experience. Actually, all of the Westies characters have been quite an experience to kind of see how they grew and how the story grew. Maybe once the books start coming out, we can really talk to you about how everything changed from the initial conception. Because initially, Billy was very, very quiet. I don't know how else to describe it, considering my characters kind of talk to me. They tell me who they are via, the feelings, this internal feeling. And I know a lot of people don't work like that, which is fine. I can only give you the ethereal feelings that I have and the way the characters talk to me and say, this is who I am, this is what I do. And I don't necessarily understand why that is until I start understanding their stories. So with Billy, the first initial thought that I got for her was that she was a very quiet person. She didn't speak very loudly, she didn't have a very pushy personality, and then I discovered, okay, so she's mute. And at first I thought it was a forceful mute, like she just couldn't talk for one reason or another. Then it turned out that she was mute by choice, and then it turned out why she was mute, which one has to do with the damage to her vocal cords, 2 has to do with her trauma response, and then 3, it just has to do with that's how she is, she's shy, but also those other things still apply. But now I know why she is the way that she is, and it all goes into her background, and it also ties into how Ace got the scar over his eye. I may have mentioned that in previous videos. I can't remember at this point if I've shared that, but you'll have to stick around if you want me to recap what exactly happened to them. So then I finally got to the reason as to why she was so quiet, and for the longest time I thought I just didn't understand her as a character, and I thought that she was being lazily discarded, but she's actually just a quiet character. in her voice. She is a very strong character in her actions, and I love that so much about her. I have gotten actually much more affectionate toward Billy in the last couple of weeks as I've come to know her character, and not feeling like I'm just ignoring her as a character. Because at first I thought that it was just me neglecting her, but that's not it at all. But the characters in all have gone through such transformations. This used to be about Ike, and then I was like, no, not Ike. Because it started out with the initial feeling of Billy and Ace with their color schemes. If you go back to whenever I started playing Red Dead Redemption, it was like a day after the first day that I played. I had a vibe while I was playing that, okay, I'm going to do something with this. I didn't mention it. I was waiting to mention it to Monty until I had a character in mind. And then it was like a day or two later that I was like, okay, Monty, I've got it. Billy and Ace, I've got names, I've got these color schemes. And then I doodled down those first images ever of Billy and Ace, which were actually Annabelle and Mordecai. They were still Billy and Ace, but their real names were Annabelle and Mordecai. Billy is still Annabelle, but Mordecai became Ike. And I didn't have a very good grasp on their characters, because when you're writing with somebody, you kind of have to play off their characters. And so I know that I've done this a lot with Sam, because over the years, him and I have been writing partners. And so characters kind of just automatically start creating in complement to the other person's character. And so then we had difficulty understanding who these characters were, and then they weren't fitting together. There was so much turmoil in the beginning of finding out who all of the characters were, and it just takes time. I promise you. If you work by the feelings of the characters talking to you, you just gotta trust the process. As exhausting as it is, as irritating as it is, as hopeless as it seems sometimes, if you just allow the process to work and you work through the process, it eventually makes sense. And it did for these characters, and I loved them so unbelievably much. I cannot tell you how excited I am to actually write these characters out and to get to share their stories with you. That's going to be a little bit of time, but they are going to be coming. And it's humbling, I think I want to say, because I never know just how brilliant these characters are going to be. And I don't take credit for their brilliance. They tell me who they are. I just transcribe them, okay? But I love these characters so much. And I remember drawing this one while I was at work. Anyway, so it's funny because with the Westies characters, it came out first with Billy and Ace, and then Monty came up with Daisy and Ambrose, and Ambrose came in much stronger than Daisy. I hope she doesn't mind me saying that. And then she eventually came up with Tommy, who became the twins' older brother. And it was like over a period of a week or two that I started getting the character impulse for Marcella to complement Tommy. But I kept her to myself because I didn't want to offend Monty or like thrust a female character on Monty if she didn't want anybody to be with Tommy, because I didn't know what she was thinking of wanting to do with Tommy. And then eventually I got the courage to be like, so, Monty, if you have any interest, and let me know if you don't want to, but I have a character that might be interesting to work with Tommy. And so then she said, tell me about your character. And I was scared, okay? Because I didn't want to upset her. I didn't want her to feel like she was forced into anything. But I immediately had started getting, at that point as I was thinking about it, I had started getting the feelings of exactly what Marcella looked like. It was, the combed back blonde hair, really, really innocent. Very bright. She's just optimistic. I love Marcella so much. She's just a ray of sunshine and hope, and just sees the best in everyone. It's the best in every situation. She is this. Oh my gosh, the Sunday that I was drawing that, I was having so many issues actually drawing too. I kept trying to draw different things because I couldn't draw. But so it's funny because once Marcella came into the picture and helped Tommy to open up his heart and his mind, it actually allowed the other characters to start developing who they were and what they wanted and how they would be, which is also very funny with how the storyline for the Bill Cassidy legend works, because Tommy kind of sets the mood and the pacing for his siblings. Whether he means to or not, his siblings look up to him for leadership, for what they should be doing, for how they should be operating, where they should go. They trust him so much, and even though Ace will kind of argue with him sometimes and he'll play the power game of like, I will fight you on this, he usually still just takes whatever Tommy decides and then goes with it. There are a couple of cases where he does fight Tommy, and one of them is where he, you know, almost dies in the first book, but for the most part, Ace will always defer to Tommy, and Billy will always defer to both of her brothers. She is very, obviously, soft-spoken, quiet, and when she puts her foot down, you know that she is serious, and she does have times when she's going to put her foot down. Now, I still don't know how to feel about this specific image, because it feels like her, but it also feels really bizarre to look at. I think it's her lips that kind of throw me off on this one, specifically. But here she is with Ambrose's glasses because he has spectacles, and Ambrose is her other half. The story with them, oh my gosh. If I get into how any of the characters in Westies got together and how their personalities mesh together and the family that they've built together, it's gonna be something really special, I think. Do I think everyone's gonna love it? Absolutely not, because it's gonna be very lighthearted, but it's gritty, it's wholesome, it's heartful, it's got gunfights in it, but ultimately I think a lot of what Monty and I are doing has hope. I know everything that I am doing has hope. Even if you look at how hopeless Bodymore looks sometimes, or how dark Bodymore is, it ends with hope, and I'm realizing that's just part of what I do. I actually think I finished coloring this one on a video or a voice chat, but I don't recall. This is one of them, though, that I was like, oh, the hair looks really good. I don't know how I got the hair to look that good. Where it looked really natural. You know, sometimes you just draw... I need to figure out a better way to draw bodies and to draw forms. I've watched some videos. I attempt every so often to do the wavy lines to get their really natural-looking bodies. And even when they're not actually characters, they're just kind of the forms... Oh, when they look good, they look good. And I admire really smooth-looking lines that make a character look like a character. Oh, I see that I was trying to do that without... Okay. So here's one of my secrets. Is when I'm coloring, or when I'm drawing, if I color it while it's still line art, or while it's still sketch art, it's like I'm trying to see if I think it will look okay when it's actually colored later, or if the image looks just terrible before I start doing line art. But then also that's somewhat halfway to how some people do their painting, their digital painting, with coloring over the sketch marks, but they do cleaned up sketch marks. So they're not as heavy as like my sketch marks on this. Someday I will get to doing better sketch marks and maybe digital painting. Because I really like the way the digital painting looks, and someday, I will figure out how to do it. I keep saying that I'm going to go and do studies. One of the things that I would definitely like to look into next year is the digital painting over the sketch marks and how to do cleaner sketching lines and pull stuff out so I can draw better the way that I want. But it's rough, dude. It's rough. So I've been working on Bodymore Zero almost all of this year. That was not at all in the plan of things. I was supposed to be working on Boom Shakalaka Boom. I was supposed to be working on Dead End Drive, the prequel, whether that's called The Benedict Estate or Letters to Agatha. It's kind of up in the air as to which way that's going to go. And that got totally derailed by me writing Bodymore Zero, which took so much longer than my previous works. And I think that's because it was missing part of its soul, since Monty is actually part of the soul of Bodymore, especially through Ralph. So earlier this year, it was much slower going because it wasn't until February that we determined, okay, so these stories will be intertwined. And since then, we've been working through things, and things were added to Bodymore 3. She actually helped give a little more direction to certain things in Bodymore 3. If you've read Bodymore 3, then and saw Tacitus, Tacitus is actually related to Bodymore Zero in Numina, and you will learn a lot more about Tacitus in Numina. And you will see more of Tacitus in Bodymore Zero. He's not good. That's all that I can say, is he is not good, if that is not obvious by what you see happen in Bodymore 3. But this year has been much slower for me creatively, and I don't know if that's because I've been drawing. I should take that into consideration, because last year when I was doing more, I was only reading and writing, and this year I have been drawing. I am like 250 more plus images right now that I have this year that I didn't have last year. Like, wait until I do the video, the very quick video of just like a second of each of the things that I have drawn this year. Oh my gosh. This is probably one of my favorite chibis of Katsuo that I have drawn to date. I don't know how I did it, but I did. You ever have those moments when you create something and you're just like, no, I don't freaking know how it happened. I don't even know if that came from my own hand. Everything else I'm usually pretty ashamed of being like, oh, I did that. But this, I am impressed with myself, as terrible as that probably sounds. Anyway, if I look at my backlog, because I write in Scrivener until I'm done with revision, but I write in Scrivener, and it's been probably February that I've been working on Body More Zero. So much longer than my previous works that... Much longer has it sat, I should say, in Scrivener than my previous works, except for Dead End Drive, which took, 9 years. But if you're not familiar with my process of things, I usually do a first draft in Scrivener, and I kind of feel out where stuff is going to go. I get an idea of where my immediate need for next is going to be, and usually I kind of start feeling out, okay, so this is where the entirety of this act has to go, because whether I need it or not, I break my stories into 3 to 5 acts, and those acts are just when something in the story changes majorly, like the world of the character changes majorly. And so... Also, this is Shigemi, which belongs to Monty. She is so adorable. Her symbol is a koi fish, obviously. She is so cute. And I obviously had to draw her to go with Katsuo. Anyway, so I write that first draft in Scrivener. And then once I finish the first draft, I move that into the backlog, the archive, whatever. And then I start writing the first revision. And a revision for me is a complete rewrite. It is. From the bottom up, I'm referencing the old version on the right side of the page, and I am writing it on the left side of the page, expanding on things, adding new scenes. Sometimes I even skip full chapters in the first version because I'm not sure what a chapter should be. And it was actually yesterday. I know I'm almost a week behind on having finished it. I continually set new goals and I miss them. But my most recent goal for finishing Body More Zero's first revision was last week, and I finished it yesterday. And we went from 107,000 words to 137,000 words. And that's because when I revise, I build character into scene, I build atmosphere into scene, I actually build out more action into scene, because sometimes my first drafts are just moving characters through a scene. And so since I'm just finding the path, I don't put as much character into them. I'm just trying to get a character from someplace to someplace else to find the path of the story. And then every revision brings out more of the character. So then that's why it gets longer. Also, obviously, I might be skipping chapters. I did have to change some of the chapters in Mortem in the first revision, which means that those are going into their technically first revision, while other chapters are going into their second revision. I'm pretty sure that this is going to be the last revision that I need for Body More Zero, and then I can move it into editing. And so I think that my current goal is to finish revising Body More Zero by the end of this year. Oh, here we got Daisy. I tried a couple different things for Daisy when I was trying to practice her hair. I want to say that hair is so hard for me to draw because it is, but faces are also hard for me to draw. Eyes specifically are hard for me to draw because the eyes is where all of the character is. Depending on how you draw those eyes, it changes them massively. Oh my gosh, the perspective on that. I was trying so hard. I was trying so hard that I changed her pose. Oh, she's so cute though. But I want to do right by Daisy. I want to do right by all of Monty's characters. And any character that I ever try to draw, I get disappointed in myself by not drawing them as well as I wish I could, because I want to honor every character that I ever draw or ever give attention, and I just can't. I don't have the skills yet. But I'm working on it. But when you're drawing the Westies characters, it's the same with like the Easties characters. It feels like you can't just draw one or two of them. You have to draw all of them because none of them can exist in a vacuum. So you always have to draw the other one. Anyway, so Body More Zero is in second revision. I wrote another 3,000 words on it this morning, or started it, with going back to chapter 1. And my goal is to get through the entirety of the book again by the end of the year, so that I can be in editing at the beginning of next year. And I have kept saying since like 3 months ago that I wanted to also start working on first draft of the Westies, and that has about 20,000 words in it already. Like 14,000 words worth of those are the prologue. And it's a cute prologue, okay? You get Tommy and Marcella, who are going to be the reasons for everything kicking off appropriately. And then you get the introduction to Daisy and the twins. And they are all just wonderful. Look, clearly I wanted to draw Michi again as a Shiba Inu because I was messing with things. Kaede is not the only one that likes Michi dressed as a Shiba Inu. It's so appropriate. She is so friendly. Anyway. I would love to hear about your guys' projects and how your guys' productivity has gone this year. Because in retrospect, and I know that I'm going to do a video talking about like everything that's happened this year, I think. And everything that I'm grateful for, which includes the people in the comments and in the Discord especially that I've gotten to get to know more, and some of the stories that I've gotten to read this year and the games that I've gotten to play. Like, I'm gonna get to go through all of that stuff at a later date, but oh my gosh, I just lost what I was trying to say looking at poor little Billy over here. She's so cute. It's been a year. It's been quite the year. Oh yeah, I was talking about the Westies, that I wanted to get a version of the Westies done because I would like to aim to have the first Westies book pretty much ready to go at some point next year. Maybe summer of next year, maybe winter of next year. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not going to rush it. And it's going to require, you know, Monty's involvement because she is half the heart of that story. But just talking about it and developing it, we came through some major developments, I think, for the third book, the direction of the third book yesterday. And oh, this was one of those times when I was looking at a reference image and trying to draw it back. And I know that when I'm looking at certain things, I'm like, how in the frick do people do like these really great line arts that have the little detail ticks everywhere? And then I kind of gave up on doing it in that direction. I just realized it was not looking how I wanted it to look, and then I just kind of was like, okay, let's make this a sketch. Let's not try to finish this image and make it look like anything formal. Let's just make this a sketch, an easy sketch. And I remember drawing this one at the doctor's office while I was waiting for somebody. Oh, the brothers. The fact that Katsuo has gotten Kaede to fall in line with him and his love for 80s wear. So that's the funniest thing, too, is I will always remember the night that Katsuo developed into an 80s clothing lover. And this is something that I think people underestimate in their own creative process, especially when they talk about skipping things like problem solving via outsourcing the problem solving to generators and outsourcing imagery to generators. Is I was playing Yakuza late at night, and I was talking to Monty on the phone, and it was Yakuza 0, and I was doing the quests and I was doing the Cabaret Club. No, I was doing real estate. That's what it was. I was doing the real estate with Kiryu, and I had to go up against the Leisure King. And then I'm looking at his outfit. I said, Katsuo has to wear that, ironically. And so then the next morning, I drew the chibi of them at the disco. And then I expanded that into Kaede wearing the zebra pants and the purple shirt, because obviously he needed his kyodai. And then I put the girls in some 80s clothing, where Shigemi was in some green foil, and Michi was in the golden sparkle tube dress. And it was from on that day forward that Katsuo decided he loved 80s clothing, especially gaudy 80s clothing. I should have seen it coming since I drew him in the 24-hour Cinderella outfit back in July. But ever since then, it's been... You'll see. If you haven't seen the short of it where he's wearing Kiryu's white suit, he just loves this stuff. And I would never have discovered that about his personality if I was not actively drawing him and thinking about his character and developing him as a person through the way that he dresses. I feel like freaking even his persona, Katsuna, has that same 80s influence. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong here, but he just is all over that. At this point, you've also got, we're back to drawing Tommy. His story of how he joined the family is actually kind of really sad, but he's just the first son of Bill Cassidy. It doesn't matter if he was adopted. They never saw him as adopted. They just saw him as the first son, and Maybelle and Bill love him so much. And he's a good brother. He's got character flaws. He's very strong in his opinions. He's a very intense man. But he is such a strong character. Like, that's one of the things I am most grateful for this year, is getting to know Monty. She is a fantastic character writer. She thinks so deeply about her character choices, about what makes characters tick, about who they are as people and how they make decisions, and it comes through in the way that she designs characters. And being able to not only get to know her writing style, but the way that she draws also expresses those character choices, and getting to write with her has been a blessing of this year. Like, I don't know where I would be without her. My writing has changed and developed. Like, it's her fingerprints, her personality, her influence is all over. Obviously, everything that I've drawn this year, almost everything I've drawn this year, is related to something that she and I have done together. And it started out with the, the Numina Bodymore stuff, and then turned into the Easties, and then turned into the Westies. And she has inspired me so much and encouraged me so much that my 2023 would be nowhere near as hopeful as it is and as wonderful as it has been, if not for her. And it was all a luck of a roll of chance that she discovered me on on YouTube when she did, and then joined the Discord. And it's kind of amazing how the Discord has worked, with just getting to know people at different levels in different ways. And everybody has such strong personalities, which is both a blessing and a curse, because strong personalities create headbutting, but also create very distinct experiences. So this was an image of Marcella that I wanted to try based on a style of art that I had in my folder, so that I could start emulating something a little more proportional. To try playing with a different style than I was playing with. Marcella keeps getting it when I try different styles. Also, that's me attempting to sort of paint, but then deciding, nah, I guess I'm gonna put some line art on this. Oh my gosh. I do so many characters with the comb over now, and then it's so hard. And I don't know why I did this to myself. Katsuo's got the comb over. Marcella's got the comb over. Ace has got the comb over. Ace has the most annoying hair. I love the way his hair looks. But also, it is some of the most annoying hair because I have not figured out how to draw it yet. Daisy has the comb over, which that's not on me. That's on that's on Monty. But and you can just see the change in who they all are. I love that she went with brown eyes. It works really well with Daisy's very bright red hair. I guess we're back to the big eyes. Though it looks like my eyes are getting a little more proportional, and that hair actually doesn't look so bad with the tuck in the back. I start adding on the color to the lips to try to reason with myself that it'll look fine when it's colored, but sometimes it's just like, this is not helping. I need to just go. But as an update for everything, so Bodymore Zero is now in version 3.0, and we'll see how long it gets. Do I think it's going to get longer during revision? Yeah, it's going to get longer, because I know that I cut some scenes short just to get to the end of them. I know that that's part of my system. When I start getting near the end of a book and I'm like, oh my gosh, freaking end it, I start ignoring doing any sort of lines and just kind of make the dialogue and then move them along, and then I figure out how to do stuff later. And so I know that it's going to get slightly longer. I don't know if it's going to be 30,000 words longer. I don't think so, because I'm not adding full sections. But for me, my system goes as follows: as I do the first draft, find the direction of the story, I do the revision, and that clarifies things from earlier drafts. It fills things in because I discover things as I go through the first draft of the story that I then have to plant in the second draft. Then if I had to do so much and create so much during that first draft or during that first revision, then I do a second revision to make sure that stuff landed nicely. And then once I'm sure that the story, the direction of the story, the scenes in the story, like the locations where they go and all that makes sense to me, then that's when I call my revisions over and I move into editing. And editing is actually where my brain starts deleting things, cutting sentences down, cutting repetitions down, looking for areas where I repeat information that is exposition, and then start beefing up the characters and strengthening the characters. And the characters can also go through strengthening when I get feedback on character information, because people can point things out to me that I had missed because I was too close to the story. So hopefully Bodymore 3 has, or Bodymore 0 has hit the point where it is good. It doesn't have a name yet, and I think that Bodymore 0 is going to need kind of a system in the naming convention that makes it part Numina and part Bodymore, because it is a prequel to both, in my opinion. But that is everything that I drew in August, and then kind of an update on everything that I'm doing now. Thank you so much for watching. Get ready for the end of year update. I have no idea if I'm going to get through all of the months that I did art before the end of the year at this point, because I keep doing other videos, but we'll try. We'll try. Thank you so much for hanging out. I hope that you are looking forward to my characters at least a little bit as much as I am. I'm sorry, I just want to talk about them so much. It's a problem. Have a great weekend. Tell me about your projects. Tell me about how your year has been going for getting things done, if you're getting things done. And it doesn't even have to be a creative project. If you're somebody that hangs out not because you're, creating things, but because you're doing something else, let me know those too, because anything that you are doing is of interest. With that said, thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend, and don't die.
Was that Wayland Cross in the trunk? Do you know, or is that something that's still being figured out?
The person in the trunk was not Wayland Cross. Is he in trouble? We don't know who did it, but as the owner of the car, the longer he's missing, the worse it looks for him.
Cross isn't a killer. For the last couple of years, the average number of murders in Baltimore has been over 300, and it's been going up. Mind you, that's only whatever the badges count as official murder, and believe me, there are people that don't count when they die. Wayland? If you're down here, tell me. I'm not talking to the badges, I've been looking for you. They found a body in your trunk. Way. Why? Did you do that? To the left, plain black letters read along the wall. You walked in the corridor. Once that ends, you chose the dark is on the right. My vision goes blurry, flickers black and black for longer intervals until I can't see anything at all. I'm not screaming anymore, but my voice echoes back to me. Where the hell am I? You're dead, Josephine. Even smart people do stupid shit sometimes, right?